I want to welcome everybody here to another wonderful Friday lunchtime of the Serve series. I am so happy to have Laura Tarbox Desmarais with me today to talk about all things PR for small business owners. Laura has been a longtime friend and colleague, and I'm so happy to have you here today. Welcome, Laura.
Thank you, Kristin. It's a pleasure to be here.
I want to jump right in with something, and you've taught me so much as a business owner. And I know that a lot of businesses really wonder what PR is, what does public relations really mean, and how they can incorporate that into their strategic marketing outreach. And part of the reason why I wanted to have you here is because we want to make sure, and I know that you agree with me on this, is that every business owner, no matter if you're a mom and pop style shop or if you have a team of 50 people, that you feel like you're walking into that conversation about public relations with knowledge, power, and an understanding of what that means for your business. Laura, can you tell me a little bit about first how you got involved with public relations, and then we'll jump right into your presentation?
Certainly. So I started from college in my PR career and worked for a firm in Portsmouth that still exists today. And we were focused 100% on high tech. And I have always enjoyed the foundations of PR, which are basically describing how a company will behave and what they'll say. So some people get a little tripped up on the word PR, but it's actually really part of marketing. It's a marketing initiative. And so we're going to share an illustration as well. But PR is really how you are building valuable relationships with all your audiences that a company comes into interaction with.
Absolutely. And that's something where I think really it's how you talk to people that are around you that are going to then talk to other people about your company, right? And making sure that you have clear messaging. Well, let's jump right into the presentation. I'm going to start right here. And so, Laura, can you tell us a little bit about what is it to build beneficial relationships? Now, these business owners, they're already competent in understanding how to build good customer relationships, but this is a little bit different. Can you jump right in with this?
That's well said. So, what I like about this illustration is it puts in very simple terms. The center circle client is your organization, your small business, and who you interact with. And as you mentioned, it's not only customers; it's several audiences. So when you are, putting something out on social media, or you're putting copy on the website, or physical in-person interaction with people, you have to be aware of the general public, and again, what your message is about your company. Very importantly, your employees, and also suppliers, partners, and investors. So as you mentioned, customers are obviously your greatest asset, but there are other audiences that you need to be mindful of.
So, when you talk about these relationships, I want you to drill down a little bit. And it might seem obvious to some people, but why is it important that you have a good network of relationships across these different spheres that you've outlined?
Um, no company exists in a silo. So, if you're in hospitality, retail, healthcare, whatever it is, you are interacting with these audiences on a daily basis. And, partnership is so important with the general public, with your employees. And you also want, in addition to your customers, all your stakeholders to really understand who you are, what you're providing, and how people can benefit from your solution or your product, service.
Absolutely, and I love that you know take it beyond that sphere because I think a lot of people just again coming back to what we originally said, they think about public relations as just what's outside in the public. But what you're really driving home is that it's the way that you communicate with your employees. It's the way that you communicate with people who provide you with maybe your aprons or your carpets every week or your medical supplies or the raw materials that you use in building your products. It's all of those relationships that you're building, and it's so important. It sounds like you're saying it's so important to make sure that your messaging and the way that you connect with those people really is streamlined so that you have a clear vision, I guess, of how you want to make that communication happen.
Exactly. What I share with my clients, and I've worked with national corporations, and I worked with early stage and small startup companies, is if you don't clearly articulate who you are, someone may take the opportunity to define that, and it may not align with your business goals. So I really like to encourage people to sit down and make sure, beyond the mission statement, what their 35,000-foot message is, and really think about how it aligns with the solutions that you're providing. And another part of that that I think is very important is also to differentiate yourself in your industry. What is it that you're offering that someone else isn't? What is it that you're seeing with your customer success, with your service, that move the needle for one of these audiences, and make sure that you're very clear on describing that competitive differentiation.
So I love that. I think that you mentioned something that may be new to our audience, and I don't want to jump the gun. If you want me to hit the next slide, I will. But what is that? You said the 35,000-foot view or the 30,000-foot view? What is that? What do you mean by that?
So the 35,000-foot view message is basically, envision that you hop in an elevator with somebody and you strike up a conversation and they are asking about your company. You are, the owner, an employee, or a stakeholder. Make sure that you can clearly articulate what it is you do, and show results in that message, and show that how you're different.
I love that. Oh, that's wonderful. All right, let's go on to this next one here. Talk to me about strategy because this is so important and so key. And I'd love for you to jump right into this because, again, it's not just the message, but it's how you relay that message. Correct? And I'll let you tell us the details.
Sure. So I want to make this relevant to your audience. And, we've obviously been in this horrific pandemic. It's been extraordinary. 2020 is, like nothing we've witnessed. And so companies, again, small business to national corporations, everyone has to ensure at this time that they are feeling trusted, that all those audiences that we talked about in the prior slide feel like a company is being ethical. They're putting people first, and by people I mean employees, customers, partners, that type of thing. And I think what's important now is that companies also remember to welcome back their audiences, their customers. So that I would say those are kind of the three components of trust that are needed to navigate marketing, public relations in this time. And what I'd like to share are three takeaways that enable kind of building that into your marketing PR plan. And the first is to elevate awareness. And no matter how small or large your company is, people really need to understand what it is you're offering and why you exist. Customers, prospects want to know what it is that you do and how it benefits me as the customer. So I think that's very mindful of something to be mindful of when you are, developing plans for if you're getting out a news announcement, if you're talking about, some new leadership, a new product, a new menu at a restaurant, that type of thing. Always have the customer's perspective in mind. And then the last point I like to make about when you're elevating awareness is keep it authentic. There's, so many great touch points you have with customers and prospects and that type of thing. And, we actually are in a very impressive time that businesses have really been phenomenal in pivoting and acting in real time to provide new solutions or to get their solution, their product, etc., out to customers amongst this pandemic.
Yes.
And just seeing some local banks, adding a welcome banner on their ATM machine and their front entrance has been really refreshing to remind people that we're here for you and we want you to trust in us.
And you make such a really great point because there's a simple truth in what you're talking about. I think sometimes people think, oh, what do you mean elevate awareness of my business? You said something very simple. You said people need to understand what it is you do and how that benefits them. And really, any person can make that statement if you were talking to a friend, talking about your business, and it's making the time to strategically put that messaging out to the public. And that messaging could live in the emails that you send out. It could live in the way that you talk to your customers. It can be in the way that you say thank you to the vendors that you're working with. But again, elevating awareness, letting people know what you do. And it sounds a little bit like you're talking about sharing gratitude for the opportunity to do business, gratitude for the chance to really serve. And I love that spirit because I think that's something that everybody can identify with.
Yes, that's actually an excellent word. And I think that that sums up where people are. People are grateful that we are, turning the corner and we are navigating our current situation, and we will get through this together.
So talk to me a little bit more about the next couple strategic points too.
Sure. So again, in your communications as a small business, it's important to promote your brand identity. And again, I don't want that to come across as overwhelming, but your brand identity is basically made up of the three P's: problem, promise, and proof. Problem, promise, and proof. So again, what I like to do when I work with clients is we look at, what is it, what is the pain out there that's you're solving, or what is, and it can be product based or again service based, and what solution do people need to know exists from your company that you are providing. Um, Promise is that you take, as we mentioned, different touch points: social media, emails, website copy, whatever it is, however you communicate with your customer, that you ensure that they understand you are committed, you are keeping your promise to them. And then my favorite of the three P's is proof, because this is where companies can really have fun. They can talk about customer success. They can, share some great benefits of what is being done again with either a product or a service. So I think this is probably one of my, being in public relations, obviously one of my favorite takeaways in working with clients and how they build trust in all the stakeholders that they reach out to.
Absolutely. I mean, let's face it, as you and I also come at this from being consumers too, where we understand the most powerful storytelling comes from hearing that kind of validation. When we talk about proof, proof is validation that your service or your product work and that it's meaningful and that it's worth my time in investing in it, either financially or making the time to go to a class or coming to see you as a medical provider, that kind of thing. But I love that too. And I can see that you got excited when you talked about proof too. And I think that that's nice for everybody because they can really tangibly say, how is your service or your product working? And would be a great place to talk about testimonials and to be able to share that with your greater public. So I love that. And I hope everybody wrote those three P's down. We're going to come back and repeat them. But Laura, would you tell us what the three P's are again?
Yes, problem, promise, and proof.
Fantastic. I love it. I'm going to hold on to that one. All right, let's jump into the last piece.
And so the last takeaway is, kind of what I touched upon earlier. Make sure that you are articulate, that you take the time to clearly define what it is that you're offering, how you're addressing whatever pain or need that you're seeing. If you're in the hospitality industry, you have the opportunity to talk about the surroundings and the environment that you're creating for visitors. And make sure that that is, shared amongst all your communications, because you want to avoid missed opportunities. And what I mean by that is, if someone is visiting your website or your social media platforms, wherever it is, Facebook, Instagram, even LinkedIn, you don't want to confuse them. You want to make sure that they are clear on what it is that, again, what you provide and how they can benefit from it.
That's great. So that comes right back to that initial assumption, or that point that you were making, is it clear what you do and how it benefits clients? And is that messaging living in all of those different touch points, so that clients understand that when they look you up? And you mentioned the pretty full gamut of things: LinkedIn, social media channels, email marketing, shop signage, for example, or any type of correspondence that you do. Is that very articulate and very clear, so that people understand who you are and what you do? And I love that, because I feel like this is all very attainable, Laura. And I love that, these are concepts that are ones that, again, everybody who's watching or even listening while you're having lunch right now, this is something that is workable for you and your business. And you can either, you can reach out to PR professionals to help you with this if you need that. But again, this is something, it's not insurmountable. It really is something that can be solved. So I love this. I feel like I'm empowered into action right now, which is wonderful. So let's take a look at your framework for success, because I love this slide too. And there's a host of information in here. So make sure, if you're watching this right now, you can take a screenshot. You can watch this video over and over again, because Laura has so much to deliver here, and I can't wait to have her share.
So what I like about this is, I feel like this demystifies working with either, myself, a PR professional, or a PR firm, marketing firm, that type of thing. Um, and PR is a powerful tool, and I'm seeing it with clients now across the country. Again, navigating this pandemic, because corporate communications is so important. How you speak to all your audiences, and PR has an impressive track record in delivering business goals, no matter what size your company is. But I think the most important end game of PR is making sure that you stand out from the crowd, and that you own a conversation. You are seen by clients as having a valued brand. And so there's basically 5 takeaways that I like to share when engaging with a PR executive. The first is, what we need is corporate content. So when I start a relationship, I like, to sit down and do kind of a discovery phase, just, look at all the assets a company has, how they're differentiated, who's using their product and service, what industry that they are working in, what industry they maybe want to enter into. I've worked with a lot of clients that have used PR for transitioning into maybe the healthcare industry, or the tech industry, going
Sure.
to different components. So the first part is really just getting your hands around, what is it you're doing, what's making you successful, who's making you successful. The next is full transparency. I find the best relationships are honest relationships. The output of a PR engagement is only as good as the input. And so it's important that the relationship is looks like a partnership, and that information is shared, and it's not always wrapped up in a beautiful package with a bow. There's things that have to be worked through, so it's not like you have to come um, and have everything delivered, but it's just making sure that you are sharing things, because in some situations I've worked with some great clients and they thought something may not have been relevant to their audience, and it was actually a great thing to share, maybe in the form of news, or having their executives out speaking on podcasts like this, or at a trade conference. So full transparency is something I'm very passionate about.
I'm going to jump in here really quickly because Laura, I could not agree with you more. I mean, it's one of those things where even small things really contribute to the overall story of your brand, and it's really important that your PR representative, the person that you're working with, sees all of those pieces, even if they seem small or insignificant. It's not just headlines that need to be shared, it's what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. And I think that that leads us really nicely into the next point that you're going to make, is that communication is key, but I'll let you jump in there.
Sure. So, like with any relationship, as a business owner, when you go out, and work in the area of sales or whatnot, you need to stay in close contact with your customers and potential prospects. So I find that the most successful relationships in my field have frequent communication, and some of those look like daily calls, check-ins, biweekly account calls, some quarterly sharing reports, kind of looking at where we've been and where we've gone, and the success that has been achieved along the way.
Fantastic. I love that. And then let's jump into those last two, because I think communication is paramount to everything else. And also reporting to make sure that we're looking towards, making sure that we're reaching those goals, because I feel very strongly, and I know that you do too, that goals without what do we want to say, but like goals without markers moving toward them, how do you know you reach your goals without being able to go back and do that evaluation? And that's an important part of the PR relationship.
Sure. So I welcome feedback often from my clients. And again, no matter what size company you are, I think it's important when you engage with an outside partner to understand what's working, what maybe could work better, and then also on the client side, what they are seeing with their business goals, if they're getting closer to moving the needle through a PR program. So feedback, I think, on both sides is a win-win.
Absolutely. Talk to me also about what you mean by partnership, because this is more than just someone hiring a PR rep for their company. Partnership digs a little bit deeper.
Sure. So I've had the good fortune of working with many clients throughout my years of PR, and the ones that have been most successful look at, again, either a small boutique PR firm, or a marketing agency that might have a PR component to it, as a partnership, not a supplier, but as a partner, that understands that the partner is there to ensure that your goals are achieved, and to provide strategic counsel to make sure that they are taking you down the right path.
Absolutely. And I think that you mentioned one word in terms of counsel. And again, because this is a partnership, you are engaging with someone doing PR, not as an employee of your company, but as a peer, as a partner, so that you should rely on their expertise and their help for reaching your strategic goals. And I think that that's a crucial part of this, where it's not just feeding your PR representative information about the company, but it's really trusting that they're going to help guide you and move you in the right direction of where you want to go for your business. So This is so helpful, Laura. And I'm going to actually stop my screen share right now and come back. I feel so grateful because there's a wealth of information that you just shared with everybody here, specifically thinking about that communication of your brand identity and making sure that that is crystal clear across all of the different touch points of your business. And if you need help with that, engaging in a relationship with someone who's in PR, who has the wisdom and expertise of understanding not only how to craft that message, but where and how to share that message too. I love this. I feel like you've given us this insider's look into what PR is all about. And you've really helped everybody who's listening today tap into a better conversation. Maybe they already have someone they're working with for PR, or they're thinking about it, or they want to do some of it themselves, but feeling more informed. And I'm so incredibly grateful for that.
Thank you. It's as I mentioned, there's quite a bit of silver linings that are going on in multiple industries right now, and I've just been so impressed with the client work I'm doing and how people are really thinking outside the box and elevating their communications and really looking at what is it my customers, what prospects need right now, and how can I, better define what I do, what I bring to the table to share with them.
I think you mentioned when you say that, Laura, what really comes to heart for me is that we are more interested than ever. And we've seen this in data that's come back in developing an authentic relationship with the companies that we are doing business with. And companies now understand how important that connection is. We care more about social responsibility. We care more about environmental responsibility. We care more about the way that companies are treating the employees that are working for them. And so I'm so grateful too. And I love that you said the silver lining of all of this is that companies are paying attention. The people who are part of those companies are saying, it's not just about the messaging, but it's about the true translation of that value that we have to offer. And I really appreciate that you mentioned that because I feel like that's a win-win for everybody.
Yes.
Well, Laura, let me ask a quick question. How can people get in touch with you if they're interested in learning a little bit more about PR, if they'd like to potentially work with you for a consult?
Sure. So my website is ltdcommunications.net. And actually, on my website, you can sign up for a 30-minute free consultation. I'd love to just, have a early discussion with people and see if there's some way we can work together. And my email is laura@ltdcommunications.net.
And we will make sure to post all of this information in the links above. Laura, thank you so much for this wealth of knowledge, for your kindness, for your generosity, and also for the work that you are doing. I can see it in the brands that you work with, how you help them in their communication. And I'm so grateful that you are really bringing your expertise to bear on the market and with businesses right now, because I feel like it just makes a better environment for everybody. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Kristin. It really, I enjoyed this discussion, and it's so wonderful that you are, providing this service for people to come and listen and learn. Very exciting.
Well, so again, we will post all of information about Laura Tarbox Desmarais of LTD Communications. We hope that we see you again here for the next Serve series next Friday. We really look forward to having you here. Bye-bye.
Take care.